first item on the agenda is called to order, which I've just done at 4:30 p.m. The second item is attendance. Linda Moore,
Here.
Larry Wall,
Present.
Mark Eastman,
Here.
Chris Johnson, present. The next item on the agenda is approve the minutes of the June 13th, 2023 meeting. Did you folks get a chance to look at that?
I did not.
Okay.
Linda has a question.
I do have a question.
Yep.
I think I caught a mistake.
Okay.
The date for the return of the DAR people,
Mm-hmm.
you have as, I'm pretty sure, as 1994 instead of 2024. You might want to revise that or check it.
Thank you. Unbelievable. I gave somebody my phone number the other day with this area code of 202. She wrote back, said, I don't think that's right. I thought, oh. So now this reinforces that. Thank you. I'll check and make that change. Any other changes anybody wants to comment? Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion on the amended minutes as amended for approval.
Second.
Well, I'll make,
Oh.
do you guys want to make a motion on this or not?
I'll make a motion.
All right, thanks, Mark. And Linda's seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Thank you. Item number 4, discussion items, veterans. I have not been able to get a hold of Mr. Bowden yet. I'm still working to find out how we can locate a list of the veterans as they recognize them, because right now the flags are on all the graves in the cemetery, and it's a great time to go looking for veterans as relates to placement of flags at these cemeteries. So I'm hoping to get a better idea, including photos if I can, of all the locations in the cemetery, various cemeteries of the veterans. And another item is I wanted to ask Sue, which is the Veterans Memorial down here at the water. I assume the town takes care of that. And I'd like to know how that happens, that the town, is that in the town budget? And how that's organized, how do they manage the maintenance of this, the upkeep of
My
that?
guess would be waterfront.
Okay, so it would be through that,
Waterfront budget.
okay. The reason is too, and it was revealed to us, all of us here a few minutes ago, that there was some work done at the Buck Cemetery as a result of having surplus bricks, I guess it is the way he described it. And they moved some those surplus bricks into the maintenance of the cemetery, the Buck Cemetery, and which is great. And we're just trying to track all that kind of stuff to make sure that we understand. And it may not be for another 10 or 15 or 20 years before that happens again, but it's still nice to know the impact as far as time goes and supplies. Just trying to get everybody who's doing anything in the cemeteries to let us know what they're doing, so we keep an eye on the cost of these things.
So, you say bricks, referring to the blocks in the wall?
I'm sorry, yeah, that's what he was referring to, and he couldn't do, what he said, he couldn't do the front, couldn't do the top there or something, I think it was, I don't remember what it is, but, he had,
Here,
yeah, so he was doing some of those, which is great, it's much appreciated. And I thought about this, with the veterans, and it sort of, I'm jumping ahead to the work plan now, but I'll stay with the veterans for right now. Somehow we've got to get going on the, Mr. Glenn, rather? Ginn, right.
How's it spelled? G-I-A?
Oh, G-I-N or G-E?
Yeah.
G-E-N then.
We got to find a way to get going on that, and I haven't done a thing on it, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but we need to contact, I get this, the Veterans Administration to establish, first of all, we have to establish that he was a Revolutionary War veteran. I think we have the information on that, and then go through the process. And I don't know if we have to have approval from the council to place a memorial at that Buck Cemetery or not. I'm not sure how that works.
I think that's what we did for the other one with the wastewater.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's good to know, so I will work with Sue on that as we get closer to, but the DAR that you envisioned before, you mentioned before, we're looking at the possibilities of expanding upon whatever they're planning to do in the 22nd of June, I think it is, next
Yes,
year.
yes.
Because we keep being told that that's gonna be a big event, so we'd like to, maybe see what else, and maybe that monument placement could be part of that whole
That would be
thing, yeah.
I was at the pool.
You were at the pool?
The pool.
At this point, Sue arrived.
Not literally, well, at a dry pool.
I was at the pool with, but it's all good news. so
Okay.
I don't know.
Um,
Sorry I'm late, but
That's fine. So, we'll work more on that, on the veterans issue, but now's the time, if we can, to see where they are, because they're all flagged, theoretically, they're all flagged up there, so to find them be a lot easier. I mean, I have records that shows who's doing what, or who was buried where, but
You want to reaffirm
it
that?
would be nice to know that, you know. to
So
see.
what are you suggesting, that maybe next meeting we go out and identify?
Or either that or assign
Each
couple
of us
of
to it.
each, yeah.
Assigned cemeteries?
Yeah, just do that and
Cover.
just take a look at it and
People
see.
to cover?
Yeah. Is that something you folks would be
I'm
willing to
willing to
spend
do
some
it,
time
sure.
doing?
Yeah, do you want to get pictures of every headstone?
Well,
What
it
do
would
you
be
want?
nice, but that's an awful lot of work.
That's my phone.
I know. Does everybody have a phone like that?
I don't know.
I suspect they do. But yeah, if you could take some pictures, that would be great, and we could just at least have a record. And I'll contact Mr. Bowden. I haven't contacted him. I don't know how these flags, although you mentioned last time that the town, he went down into Searsport, I believe, and got the flags and the markers in Searsport to bring back up. So I need to get in touch with him and find out what he knows and how these things work. Any other comments about the veterans? We got a lot of work to do there. I also thought it'd be great to have a memorial presentation for the Revolutionary War soldier we've identified, preliminary identified as Mr. Ginn or Mr. Glenn.
Ginn.
James Ginn.
Ginn, yeah. And the proposal might be that we hold a presentation, a memorial presentation, because we can't identify where he's buried, and place a monument of sorts, of whatever the veterans can provide, on the back end of Buck Cemetery. When the DAR does their thing on the 22nd of June next year. You think that's a possibility? Do you see a problem with that? Thank you. All right, moving on to the DAR update. That was the next item I had on there, to try and stay in touch with that, find out what their plans are and how they're coming along. But Sue gave me the lady's name, and I have it on a card at the desk, and I don't have it with me now. It's Elizabeth Snow. Thank you. Are you in regular contact with Miss Snow?
she was in to see me yesterday with information on the 250.
250, yeah.
That's done. Bucksport is the only place in Maine where one of those is being installed at this time. It's the only place, and the Bucksport is the only town in the United States that's partnering with the DAR to make that happen.
This 250 is a federally
It's an
recognized program
yes,
to
it is.
celebrate the
Yep.
250. Okay.
Of the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
But I found that very interesting, that we're the only place in the country that has partnered with the DAR in order to do this, and that thus far we're the only place in Maine that has made an application, where the DAR has made an application for the location of one of these. So the state level is really excited about this, as well as the local
Good.
Ramasoc, and the national level is also interested because of the fact that a community is partnering, which nobody else is.
Interesting.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yep.
The plaque is brass, and it's 30 by 30 inches. It's
Good
a good
size.
size. But they're, you know, it's a standardized one that they're doing for all of these, but I think it will be an incredibly important addition to our Veterans Memorial area.
Is there an assigned spot there already for that? Have you
No, what
agreed
we
to
were
that?
looking at is if, as you look at the memorial, if you're standing on the rivers, looking at the memorial, sort of on the left-hand side where it arcs around, there's an area there, that I think would be good. It needs to be part of, but not interrupt the symmetry of what's already there. But I think there's, if you look at that to the left of where that display is, just to the left, there's an area that I think would be really good. That's where we've tentatively identified for the location.
Is she handling the publicity of this, do you think? Or is that something you're
Well,
working with?
no, I think it's gonna be a combined, effort. I believe that the DAR is gonna handle the DAR related folks, and that the town will handle the other entities and publicity that would like to. And maybe we could think about, I mean, we talked about the Begin one in Buck. You know, are there other things that we should be
Well, there's-
adding to this?
There are, I think, a couple of things that would be of note, one of which, and I don't remember the second one right now, but the one is the gentleman up there at the Lawrence Cemetery, who I believe was a British soldier at one point and then became an American soldier. And there's, I believe this is, I may be wrong, it may not be the Lawrence, but I believe he's buried up there. And I think Emmerich dug that up a long time ago. But there are two vets. That's the one, when you go up, it's on the left down in the woods towards the river. There are a couple.
Yep.
Couple gray veterans flags down there. So I believe he's buried there. So an interest story that it may not be something they want to add to the agenda, especially since he had a history of being a British soldier at the same time. But again, it's an interest story that brings people to other parts of the town and the cemeteries. But it would be nice to have that discussion. So you don't think that by moving our own local celebrations of sort of including would diminish the impact of that plaque being put down there, that we're not going to grab too much?
I think that there's room, if this is gonna be an event, that the main, you know, clearly the main attraction is the American 250, you know,
Right.
that piece, but I think that it would also provide us an opportunity to highlight some other things that are important locally related to
Okay.
our veterans that are just to add to. I don't think it would subtract from.
Okay.
I think that I mean I'm not saying 47 things, but if we're focused on some things that were, you know, Mr. Ginn is great. That I find that one pretty interesting, and I think that it would be really respectful and appropriate to sort of provide that recognition at the same time that we're doing the very major thing down on the waterfront.
I'm going to write that down because I like those combination, respectful and appropriate, as it relates to local. Any other questions about the DAR update that's on here? Anybody have any other thoughts of what might be a good idea?
Wonder if we should talk to Dean at all over the fort, and whether, you know, if they do a reenactment, if they did it the weekend prior. That's a Monday, I think, the 24th.
They do Revolutionary War reenactment?
Well, they do.
It's the 22nd.
It's the 22nd.
I'm sorry.
22nd.
Well, the 22nd is Saturday.
Yeah.
I thought you said the 24th. You said the year was 24th.
That's correct, unless you read the minutes, but it said 19.
94.
94.
I remember that.
So
I just don't know if there would be anything there that could be done at the
I
fort.
suspect it doesn't hurt, but again, I would be careful about,
Sure.
I'd want to check with, maybe with
With them.
Elizabeth Snow about what she's, I'm I'm sure you're having conversations with her, what she can, shall we say, approve if necessary, if that's the right word, or tolerate is another word, without eclipsing the impact of what she's doing.
Yep.
Pretty nice to have that conversation. And I don't know how involved the local chapter is getting involved with it, but, well, there were a couple people there at that last ceremony that we had out there, so.
Well, that is, Ramasoc are the ones that are part of, is the chapter that has made application for this in combination with the town.
Mm-hmm.
They encompass several towns.
Yes, it's not just one town, it's the area.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next item, which is access agreement. We're gonna move along here. I have not gotten any more information on the access agreement, and I think I told you I would get that to you, and I haven't done it yet, as relates to how we're gonna find out. One of the other questions, did you ever get in the tax maps of who owns the property?
I
Tax
gotta
map?
make a note to myself, I have not.
All right, because it would be nice to know who we're gonna have to contact on some of these properties, specifically around the Lanford property and the Lawrence property, and especially the Old Methodist Church property, to find out what we're gonna do as far as writing. You had made a comment about the Hueytown being a different situation, that we still need to know who has the property ownership around there, as far as access goes. We're not 100% sure on that, whether we have access to it, but I suspect we will once we have these agreements in place. Any more questions on access agreements, or any other comments? I'm sorry I don't have more of them done.
Well, I wonder, do you think, we could get from another community what they're using for
I think
access
so,
agreements?
yeah. And then Sue mentioned that it'd be good to run it by the legal,
Okay.
to make sure that we're doing what we should do. Where's my agenda? I just buried it. I know I did. I'm not well organized here today. Okay. Any more comments about access agreements or any other questions?
No.
All right, the work plans. I'm gonna pass out the Buck Cemetery work plans that
You're good.
yeah, I've got a bunch of them here. And it was Kismet that we had, I think, make sure that says Buck Cemetery, Linda.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Because I'd gotten a complaint about when are you guys gonna paint the fence, paint the railings down there. So I thought, well, let's just take a look at the plan, make sure we have it on there. The fences need painting for both the handrail and the wrought iron, or whatever. We decided not the wrought iron fence, but the handrail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rich comes in today and says he's planning on painting the handrail down there. We had a discussion. It was like, all of a sudden, he's here. By miracle, he shows up. He says, yeah, we're gonna paint that. And he told me what else they had done down there, with the bricks and stuff, which is great. And I asked him just to record the time spent. Now, I know that those things hopefully won't have to be touched again for another 15 to 20 years, so it won't be a budget item, but it doesn't hurt to keep track, even because of it's temporary labor, to keep track of all the money we're spending in these places. So he said, and one of the complaints that I heard about, now you've got to paint paint the railing. I thought, all right, fine. So I checked, and here it is. The railing, it's in here somewhere, the railing needs to be painted, and he's gonna, I assume, do it. And you're aware of that? Okay. So that we can just keep track of it and check it off when it's done. And I told him, I said, just keep us posted so we can keep an eye on what we need to do this year and next year, which he did. He said he would do that. So as I look through some of these things, this would be nice to have this done because of what's coming next June as well. I'm sure you're already, 3 weeks, 5 weeks ahead of me on this issue, so.
No, but
All right.
I'm not far behind.
So any other comment about this, what we have down here? These are the items we all agreed as a
Mhm.
result of our site visit we needed to look at. So with this right here and what he does or what he gets done, well, I would like to think that we'd be in good shape for public access next June, should that event, so we get that monument set up and figure out how we're gonna do that. So, thank you for what you've accomplished so far. Is there anything else on here that you folks see that we might wanna think about adding, or something not on there that we need to add?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay.
No.
Oh, yeah, the key, the
Well-
key you said was the public, I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead.
No.
The key, does the Public Works has the key? Do you have one in this building as well, or?
No.
Just them? Okay. Are you comfortable with that as the town manager, that they have that key, and
And I don't.
I don't know.
Well,
yeah.
only because I can have it anytime I want it. Their use of it is much more prevalent than mine.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if there were like two keys or something like that, but,
There
I'm
may
not-
be, but I'm
okay.
aware of one for the padlock that's
Okay.
on
so technically we'll be going through you to get to that, so, okay. I'm just trying to understand how the system is set up, how it works. Any other questions on Buck Memorial's, Buck Cemetery? Any comments on the Buck Cemetery? Now I think I've lost the other one I had. Yep, I have. Well, all right. I'd also put it, oh, I know where it is at the printer home. I also printed out the one for Oak Hill, trying to understand what we had discussed with Oak Hill and where we were going with Oak Hill. And I thought, let's review the plan for Oak Hill. And I'll have to, it's in the drive. It's available for all of you folks to look at it. But I printed it out and I meant to bring it in. And the question that we got, let me check the agenda here too. Okay. We've been getting comments, I've been getting them secondhand about condition of Oak Hill over the 4th of July. They painted, they mowed them. You describe it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the walkways and where the vehicles get in and out is both. The rest of the cemetery is disgraceful.
It's yay high, at least all the way around. So I thought, okay, how do we make that not happen again? What can we do to, I assume, set up a regular maintenance schedule?
I can tell you what we can do first is make it stop raining for 6 weeks at a
Yeah.
time, and we would be easier to accomplish. And I'm not trying to be smart here, but
That's the
Public
truth.
Works has been challenged by weather and trying to keep up with all of these. And I reached out to them at the beginning of this week and said that cemetery needs to get done, and they're aware of that. The trees that need to come down are the first ones that, when Jay does work for us again, that are coming down. The only tree that came down was this one with an excavator when we had to repair a sewer line. But the trees are the first priority when we have Jay. All of them except the maple and the thing, which is what everybody said, right?
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
of those perimeter trees are coming down.
Yep.
So that is the Big J's assignment when he comes to.
You might wanna take a look at them. I said there was 3 trees, there's probably 6 trees there. They're a combination of oak and locust. The locusts definitely need to come out, because they're the culprits for the saplings in the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
The oak, you might wanna look at it, and they might be all right. So, better take a look at it.
Oh, I'm sure they'll evaluate but the goal was to not have anything impeding fences or
Or coming down on it?
coming down on stones,
Yeah.
which was the goal, right?
Yep, I would agree.
Was that?
Yep.
One of the items in the Oak Grove work plan was discussing the maple and the impact of the maple on roots having on the stones. And we all saw the stones all, so because of the decision to keep that maple, those stones more than likely are going to stay in that position. I don't know how we jack them up and then replant them in there. I just don't know how it's going to happen, because the roots on that maple are so extensive around it that some of those lots are being impacted. But again, we didn't take an official vote, but the consensus is to keep the maple there.
I think it would be hard to get it out, what you'd be left with would be problematic.
Yeah. Yeah, removing the roots may.
I don't know what we'd
disinter
dig
some-
up if we did that.
Well, that was my point. It may
Oh,
end up
yeah.
disinterring
Horrendous
certain ones.
stuff.
That's gonna be the challenge. The large locust up at that corner, would we assume that that'll be stump ground out? Or is what's the plan on, because there are other stumps, I think, along the perimeter, aren't there, Linda, that's still there, or did they
Mhm.
take those out too?
Well, they took one down more than they had initially, but the stump is still there and it should be.
Well, once that fence comes out, that would be the time to go in there and grab those stumps. And I know there's a gentleman, and I know there's a bunch of them around, I use a
They
guy.
do stump,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had it done in that.
Okay, so can we agree that that should happen as well as with the locusts? Because we're not gonna go probably, what, maybe an inch below grade at the most with a stump grinder. I mean, they're not gonna dig way down deep. To any lots or any interments that are there should be fine.
Yeah, I hope so.
But getting them out along the fence line is gonna probably be important, I would think, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, just clean it all up, and make sure that it's taken care of correctly. And then, figure out if, in the future, if there's a plan about what we can do with the maple perimeter, because some of those stones are like this, you know, on the ground and all twisted and gnarled up. And theoretically, those folks have who planted that, I don't know, it may have been that family, but I doubt it.
Right.
I guess one has a right to a vertical stone even 200 or 300 years later. But, by the way, I was looking at that Oak Hill, the last person buried there was 1974. It was a lady named Pauline Varnum. And she used to run the Five and Dime here in town. And you never crossed her. You just didn't cross Pauline Varnum because she would let you know if you were misbehaving and you got booted out of the store. You just tried to avoid Miss Varnum, but she was, other than that, she was very nice. But I was just looking at the records and thought, oh yeah, I remember her. 1974, she passed. So I can say that I do remember certain people in Oak Hill Cemetery. The rest, I don't know anybody else that was ever buried there. So we're all set. So do you think that Oak Hill will be mowed this week or next week, or any thoughts about?
I'm sure that it will be mowed by next week.
Okay.
Positive it will be mowed.
Well, it was, it's the July 4th weekend is where it really got noticed. I know up at Riverview they're struggling up there, but they're staying on top of it, and it's tough. I understand it's tough, and he was there today, and sometimes they're there at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night because it's going to rain. But we've been hearing rain now for a week, and I haven't gotten any up there. It's just dry as a bone. All right, next item, new members. I've asked 2 people to consider joining. I've gotten no response, no positive response about joining this committee. They all think I'm joking when I ask. For some reason, I don't know why, they seem to think it's funny, but they think you gotta be crazy, which I agree I am, but that's not the reason to say no. But I'm gonna keep trying. I don't know if you folks
I will as
are
well.
recruiting.
I have been.
No matter who it is, I had a couple of young people that came to the Historical Society, and I talked to them about it. They'd give it a consideration. I said, well, I'm hoping that you consider.
I talked to a young fellow as well. He was really interested, but his work schedule,
Yeah. We're hoping that.
he's not
And-
available at 4:30.
And as I always say for you folks in TV land, if you're thinking about it, please consider giving us a call, give the town office a call, and help us with this project of being on this committee, because it's doing good work, and we could use all the help we can get. And just contact the town office, they'll process the works for that. So please consider joining this group, and perhaps you'll be on the TV next month.
I had one question about mowing. If I find someone that's interested in mowing, how would I send them to you?
That would be great.
And then one more question. What did we pay last time we had somebody mow it?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would have to look that up. I don't wanna guess and be wrong. It's been a couple of years since we paid someone to do it.
We just raised it to $20 at Riverview last week.
20 an hour. Yeah.
We did a lump sum when Mr. Sargent did it. It was a lump sum. Austin. I think his last name was Sargent.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a lump sum for, then there was cleanup in the spring and fall.
Yep.
All right, Ginn Monument update, I think we've talked about that pretty well. It appears that there's a good plan coming together. Other items not on the agenda for discussion. Anybody have any other items not on the agenda for discussion?
No.
The committee banquet is probably still hasn't been planned out yet.
No, it hasn't been planned, we need more members.
Right. All
I
right.
think that maybe this event that's gonna happen in June of '22 could be a way to get some people who are, you know, if it's not exactly cemeteries, if it's history and veterans, that we might get people interested in, you know, figuring out ways to be part of that would then
Might translate
help
into-
them realize how much good work or you know what the real goals are here, which is to appropriately care for it really is the history of the community, because the cemeteries are where everybody is that was part of it at one time, so.
That's true.
And every town struggles like this. You know, some towns don't because they have a strong volunteer group. That group eventually disappears. You know,
Yeah.
it just eventually passes on, and it's sort of like a ball team that's great for a few years and then it subsides.
Are we the great team right now?
We're in the lower division right now.
Okay.
We're skyrocketing
We're
to
double A
the
at the
top.
moment is what he's saying.
We're going to the top. There's no stopping us now, really. No, I appreciate those comments, Sue, and I think that's a good idea. And there's a lot of activity and interest in all these different groups, so I'm optimistic, but it would be nice to have somebody on board as well. New ideas are always welcome, you know, so that's the way I look at it. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, meeting is adjourned at